The other big news yesterday, before we dive into the new news, the new guys that the Steelers could pursue, the new guys hitting the market. I'm seeing the chat talk about Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. We'll dive into those guys. But the Steelers made some moves yesterday. They re-signed Miles Killebrew. Phenomenal move by the Pittsburgh Steelers. You don't let that guy go. I've been saying that all offseason. You do not let Miles Killebrew go. He's 30 years old. Who cares about if he can play safety or not? He's probably the best special teamer in football. You're keeping that guy. He's an all-pro. He's somehow peaking at this point in his career. He's got as many blocked punts as any other team in the league during a 3-year span with the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's as good as gets. You keep Miles Killebrew 3 years. That's huge. Christian Kuntz, another one. My thing with Christian Kuntz is if you're getting penalties because you're too aggressive as a long snapper, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. That means you're trying to tackle people. That means you're trying to make plays. I think that's the guy that the Steelers want around. He's a great locker room presence. He's definitely a leader in that room. A long snapper being a leader is wild, but he is. Everybody loves that guy. I think that was a good move as well. And then they lost Armon Watts, who, I mean, you've been around. We've talked about this so many times. Armon Watts was labeled by everybody. Every national publication out there was talking, the Steelers can't lose Armon Watts. That is their one free agent they cannot let walk is Armon Watts. Let me just read off some Armon Watts stats here, okay? Last season, I get it. He's 27 years old. He could play across the defensive line. All that makes a lot of sense. He had 15 tackles, 0 tackles for loss, half of a sack. That was it. I'm sorry, but I think that Armon Watts is as replaceable as they come for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now it's about going out and replacing him. I got 2 names for you. I've talked about one of them constantly, DJ Reader. I think that's the move for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I think he makes way too much sense. I think he does exactly what the Pittsburgh Steelers have looked for somebody in that position to do. But if they're looking for a different option, if they're looking for a bigger option, maybe to make just as much splash, but in a different way, DJ Reader is a run stuffer. He's a dude who's going to clog the middle of your line. I think that's what the Pittsburgh Steelers should be looking for. If they're looking the other way around, which they tend to do this, they tend to look, hey, who's the best pass rusher that we have available? Where can we go get a pass rusher, no matter what position it is? I mean, you got to look. Last year was Keanu Benton, pass rusher. Larry Ogunjobi, pass rusher. Cam Hayward, pass rusher. Montravius Adams, pass rusher. They're just all pass rusher guys. And then they got guys like Isaiah Loudermilk, who they like try to plug in. I think you need more run stuffers. But if you're looking pass, Arik Armstead is a name to watch. He's probably going to be too expensive for them. But at this point, I don't know what they're capable and not capable of because Omar Khan does not have a limit about anything. And at that point, I think that that's a move. 5 sacks last season, 4 tackles for loss, 13 quarterback hits in just 12 games. That's a guy that I have my eyes on. He just got released by the San Francisco 49ers. He was a captain last season. He's not slowing down anytime soon. He enters the ring. I would say the Pittsburgh Steelers, he enters the octagon of the potential. This is who the Steelers are going to sign. Again, that's a lot of money for a 30-year-old probably. DJ Reader's probably not going to be much less expensive. I'm going either one of those, and I'm feeling cool about it. Just because right now your option's Larry Ogunjobi. Who cares about spending money? You don't have a quarterback contract. Go spend that money. I think defensive line is the way to go. Those 2 names are the names that I'm looking at. Losing Armon Watts. I mean, dude, we've laughed about this time and time again during this offseason. Armon Watts is not a name that you're sitting around stressing about because he was not here. And I think in 2 years, and I'll respect Armon Watts. He's 27 years old. He's still got a lot of career ahead of him. I think in 2 years, we're sitting around and people are like, oh my God, I forgot Armon Watts. I forgot he played for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Be like, yeah, me too. Me too. That's who Armon Watts is. If I had to toss this out there and tell me if I'm wrong here, I think Marcus Golden's a bigger name that you have to resign at this point than Armon Watts.
Yo, 100%. I mean, you have 3 outside linebackers when you're talking about 2 of the best in the game, or at least one of the best in the game with TJ Watt. You have Alex Highsmith, who is, A- B+ type of guy. And then you have a guy in Herbig that has really shined throughout the season last year. You saw the maturation. And even if you look at the defensive line, didn't they just sign Braden Fehoko whenever they cut Patrick Peterson? So you have some depth. Yeah. And I feel like Fehoko and Watts to me are on the same level. I might be wrong in that, but I would say 100% Golden is much more important than Armon Watts. If you're going to resign one of them, I don't think it's a question.
No, exactly. Marcus Golden, you're going after. Armon Watts is replaceable. Braden Fajoko, I was a big Braden Fajoko guy in training camp. The Pittsburgh Steelers did not seem to agree with me that Braden Fajoko was as good as I thought he was. So that's on them. And maybe my evaluation's off. You know, I will never be the guy that sits around and say, I probably know more than Carl Dunbar does. I don't know. I don't think I do. So if they view him as an option, cool. He's still young. He's a run stuffer. I think it makes sense. Isaiah Loudermilk's still there. DeMarvin Leal, I don't know what the heck you're going to do with him, but he's still there. I'm just saying Marcus Golden's a bigger name than Armon Watts.